Innovation Unplugged from the Alabama Community College System's Innovation Center takes you inside Alabama's workforce development. Join us for enlightening conversations with community leaders and industry experts showcasing experiences, addressing key issues, and celebrating successes in the workforce initiatives across the state.
All right, well, welcome back to Innovation Unplugged. This is the next in our series on our newly formed podcast, almost newly formed. We're in season 2 now, maybe?
Are we professionals now?
I don't know.
Are we podcasters?
I don't know. I think we're much more comfortable. I think it kind of, we were just, kind of talking the other day about how natural talkers we are. But anyway, I'm Brandy Merrill. I'm the Director of Curriculum Design for the Innovation Center. And today we have
Julie Frizzell, Executive Director for ACCS Innovation Center. And our special guest is...
I'm Eric Fulmer. I'm the Director of Workforce Development for Wiregrass Construction Company.
We are so glad to have you here today. So part of, part of what we have really kind of started with a lot of guests has been, tell us like the first time you heard about Skills for Success or Innovation Center. And so just to kind of talk through that just a little bit, because sometimes people don't understand what the difference is between the two. So Innovation Center is a department, is a division of the Alabama Community College System. And so it's the brainchild of the chancellor and several other community leaders. And from the Innovation Center, we produce courses, and those courses are labeled as Skills for Success courses. So the Innovation Center proper is what creates a lot of things that that we put out, and one label is Skills for Success. There will be some other labels that are coming out here before too long. We've got other irons in the fire and other things that are cooking. But kind of tell us, Eric, one, what you do on a daily, and what does a workforce director do for Wiregrass? And then also, where were you and how did you kind of come to know who we were and what we were doing?
Okay, yeah, sure. So I started in this position in late 2021, and the way that I got, I guess, familiarized with the Innovation Center was because the state had decided that they wanted to focus a little bit more on what they can do for our road construction trades. And they started down a path where they were just looking at like what we provided from the community college system and other avenues. And I think that's what eventually led to all of the interactions about trying to find what we can do about specific trades in our industry. So this was like, I think at the beginning of 2022, whenever I started having like detailed conversations about specific types of equipment and the needs for our workforce in that way. As far as my job, we stretch from Dothan to Middle Tennessee, and I spend as much time as I can in each different area, and we're just assessing what the needs of our employees are, how we're progressing. Our road builders, they have what they build is very impactful to our society.
Huge.
And
infrastructure.
That's exactly what
it's crucial.
Yes, and it is, and they should be very proud of that too. But we also want to be the kind of builders that build up people too.
Oh yeah,
so important.
So
Huge.
That we spend a lot of time trying to figure out like how can we make people's skill set more diverse? How can we help them get better where they're at, or how we can help them move on into something they like.
That's so big, because it's not just about like recruiting workers. I'm sure that's a large part of your job is recruiting employees, but it's also then like retaining those employees. And that's what we hear from a lot of like really, really big and small, all kind of in between, is how important it is to really kind of feed back into your workforce to make sure that you can retain them and find their strengths and that kind of thing. Earlier, you were talking about like assessing, kind of knowing all of those individual components, like what makes somebody tick, what kind of personality do they have, and can you talk to that? Like, what do y'all do when you run those assessments or do those assessments? How do you use that to ensure that you're, really kind of tapping into the best skills of that worker?
It was funny that you mentioned recruiting. That's actually what made our company want to invest so heavily in workforce development, because finding people that are willing to work is actually not the biggest problem. It's just we have a shrinking skill set in the particular trades that we have.
Yeah.
People are getting older, they're retiring, or they're moving on. They found a different type of career that they want. So it becomes, necessary for you to start looking at entry-level workers or people that haven't done this before and figuring out how are we going to get them to a point where, they are infinitely useful in a lot of different trades. And that's why we spend so much time on it. But there are definitely personalities that are well suited for construction. It is a, very labor intensive type work that we do on road construction and in our quarries and just in our general construction for grading operations and things like that. But obviously it takes every type of personality, I think, to make a complete team. There's not just one kind of person that just fits into it. Everybody does.
Sure. Y'all have been, I'm going to sing y'all's praises for a minute because the last 2 pieces of equipment that we have built courses for have been excavator and motor grader. And y'all have been crucial in the development of those courses, not only sitting on task forces and kind of helping guide kind of the content side of things, but tell me what we kind of came to you and said, hey, Eric, we want to come film, and kind of walk us through a little bit about what that looks like from an employer's side. Like, what did you have to do when we said, hey, we want to come film? And for those who have listened before or might be new, when we go out and film, we're not filming what you would think of as like YouTube lessons or YouTube tutorials. It's more like day in the life, very relevant, very short snippet, kind of TikTok-like when it's all edited, said and done. So when we put the call out that, hey, we're ready to film, you guys just absolutely laid it down and said, come on, we got you. And so the first one that we did with you guys was excavator. So tell me about what that's like from an employer perspective and all those things like that go into it. Like, there's a lot of prep that y'all did that we didn't see before our crew got there and I got there that morning or whatever. So kind of tell us what that looks like from your perspective and all the things you have to consider before that happens.
Well, we're really thankful that the Innovation Center wants to do these courses with us, because you can go to any city in Alabama and you're going to find heavy equipment scattered throughout any city, it could be off the side of a road, people operating it. But if you go up and talk to, nearly 100% of them, none of them will tell you that I had to go to a school or I got some sort of formal training to learn how to do this. Almost all of it's on the job. So these kind of courses are like giving it a standardized, structured way of people getting into these trades and getting them off to a good start so they can get proper OJT. But all of the people that have participated in the filming, they wanted to. Like, I was actually very surprised. They were very happy to do it, and I think they were proud to have their trade highlighted. And it gave them an opportunity to really kind of showcase what they know and why somebody would want to get into it. But as far as the preparation for it, all this equipment is used, right? It gets out there, it gets dirty, so you have to spend a lot of time, going over this thing, this big yellow iron. So you're trying to get it as clean as possible so you can see.
Such a good job of doing that too.
So you can see all the gauges and see everything. And then obviously our safety professionals, they get out there and they make sure that everything in that area has, it's a good hazard analysis has been done so it's safe for the crew and everyone else, and paying attention to, because the guys that are doing the videos, they're focused on talking, so they could forget, oh, I need to put on my gloves, I need to do something. So we have to make sure that there's people there to kind of like an accountability buddy to guide them while they're doing it. That's
a great point, because it is, you think about and I don't know, we kind of forget sometimes, I think, and it's like any other, I don't know, it's like anything else. You kind of forget that you go on site and these folks aren't used to
being in the camera, in front of the camera all day. Yeah.
I mean, they're not used to doing any of that. And, you kind of come in and ask them to, hey, tell me what you do every day, or tell me how you do this. And there's a lot of people that would find that really, really hard. If you said, hey, tell me how you make that peanut butter and jelly sandwich. Well, gosh, I'm going to have to say, well, I take 2 pieces of bread. Wait, where did you get the bread from? I got it out of the cabinet. Okay, well, stop and tell me you walked over to the cabinet and you got me. So we really do ask a lot of folks, I think, but you're right. They really do. A lot of times people will think that they're not very good at this. They go into it and they're like, they start off apologizing, like, I really don't know what I'm doing. I'm not going to be any good at this. And by the time it's said and done, like, we have something that is spectacular because it's so authentic. And your 2 last employees have just been like rock stars. I don't think they ever thought when they woke up that morning that they were about to be like the star of a course. But I mean, literally, like, they just embody.
They nailed it.
Everything, about that piece of equipment. And they end up being so good on camera, and they just don't ever think that they would start off doing that. So did you hear anything kind of after the fact, or were they surprised by how well they did or how much we asked of them or whatever?
They did not give me a lot of direct feedback. I think they wanted to wait and see what the final thing was. Before
what it looks like. What do I look like on camera?
Eric, who did the excavator course,
yeah.
When I was watching all of the videos, I could tell which ones were filmed, I guess, earlier. And then as the day got on, because of how relaxed his voice got as it went on. But they did very good. I was very happy for them.
Yeah. So comfortable as time goes on.
Well, and I think that's important for our viewers to know that, I mean, not only were you the host for us to be able to film on site, but also the role that your company played in being on the task force, and why that's so important that we build these courses around what exactly the industry needs. So tell us, kind of your role in Wiregrass's role in the task force, and like why that's so important to really build skills around those immediate needs right now in our state.
I mean, if you go look at any construction company that does, I'm going to call it dirt work, where you're using this heavy equipment to shift the earth around to make it suitable for whatever kind of project you have. There are people, they will get into a particular piece of equipment. They'll learn it very well. They might learn another one, but then you don't find, I guess, all the versatility of skill set. So you're going to have like just a couple of people be able to run a motor grader or an excavator that's like a large one or something like that. And, it's these kind of courses help give the people out in the field that have that expertise like a good jump off starting point. Like, they don't have to start from square one whenever they get a new employee that's been through this course.
Right.
And that just helps get everybody more comfortable with it, and you can just jump straight into, really meaningful training. So that's really good.
And that's important also, you mentioned earlier, because it's very structured and standardized not only in one part of the state, but throughout the state, because you all cover such a wide, area of the state. So why is that important? Because you might have individuals that work for you in one job site one day and another part of the state the next, working with different crews possibly as well, right?
Mm-hmm. So, with these kind of construction crews, they'll either shift, like there'll be like a person that's assigned to a piece of equipment, and it might go to several different projects within a given week. So he might not be with the same crew all the time. But one of the things when I was listening to our last subject matter expert that helped with the motor grader, he was talking about how doing those videos with you guys sit there will impact how he explains things going forward.
That's great.
Oh, I love that.
Yeah, because it gave like all these very clear segments of places that he could start, stop, pick up, and adjust.
Yeah.
So just having more people that go through something standardized like that and be able to talk about it in that way, I think is very helpful.
So important.
Absolutely. And that's kind of a great point, because that kind of goes back to, not everybody is built to explain things, right? I mean, I live with and know people that they wouldn't necessarily be the person I would go to, like to teach me how to do something, but it's so cool to go out on these sites and watch how we can take something, that's a kind of a hard concept, how to operate one of these very large pieces of equipment and take it and narrow it down into, say, a minute and a half of how to move this, joystick this way or move this pedal to make this bucket swing this way. I mean, to do that and to do it well would be difficult for anybody to do. And then it's fun to kind of watch your folks take it and really kind of hone in on those skills. I bet it is fun for them to kind of go back and be like, oh yeah, that's really edited down, and that now I've kind of learned a better way to say things. So
the nature of construction is you're always working yourself out of a job, right? Because it's literally every project you're working to get out of that job.
Yeah.
So if you look at it from the standpoint of an equipment operator, they're not only just trying to make all their precise movements and do everything. They're trying to do it in a very timely manner too. And then you got some people that they have to have really good grading skills, so they have to be able to compact something to a very precise level in order for it to be usable, or to pave, or to do concrete work on it, or whatever it is may be. So it's a lot more complicated than people think it is.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, so complicated. It's really amazing, the knowledge that all of these operators have, and just kind of the intricacies of how the day-to-day, jobs are done is, it's really impressive. So what are some of the jobs that Wiregrass is working on? Not necessarily like naming things, but what are some jobs that y'all are working on right now, and equipment that y'all are using to do those?
Okay. In North Alabama, actually, I think we filmed the excavator course there. They're developing a subdivision. It had a lot of really heavy rocks and stuff. They had to sit there and go in there and pound it down and get it ready for housing to be put up in there. Where obviously we're paving roads all throughout the state, so there could be city, municipalities, counties, interstates. This time of the year, everything kind of slows down a little bit because of the temperatures and things like that. Hot mix asphalt, has to travel from the plants and get there, and so we'll see it pick back up into the spring. But most of the work that's being done is like construction work, where you're just preparing ground for various types of developments.
So what are different types of equipment operators that you guys employ?
Okay, so motor graders, excavators, skid steers, paving machine operators, rollers, the list goes on. Loaders, backhoes, shuttle buggies. I'm not sure if you've ever seen one of those before. It's normally on road construction. That it's pretty much the whole suite of what you would normally see on a heavy equipment side. One of the things I thought was so cool, when I first got into here, I'd never thought about the distinction between vertical construction and horizontal construction. Vertical construction, they're always building something up. It could be a building or something else. Whereas, miners and road builders, they're building out in miles. So it's a totally different trade skill set, and one is heavily emphasized in the college system. I mean, you have no problem figuring out how to be a plumber, an electrician, a carpenter, or a bricklayer, something like that. So this is why we care so much about making the Innovation Center successful, is so that people that want to get into these kind of trades for horizontal construction actually have something they can go and learn first, and not just rely on an employer to teach them entirely on the job.
Yeah.
I love you said that. So that means that we're really hitting that niche that hasn't been really touched on before through training that's been available, and how that's been able to grow with the amount of courses, where we started with skid steer, and now, like she said, all the way to motor grader with, and where we can go from there. So that's really exciting. We appreciate really y'all's just time that you put into this, because we know that you're busy and you have work to do, and being able to go on site and film for a day and be able to work hand in hand with you as a partner has been amazing. This is exactly what we were set out to do.
Exactly.
So, I love hearing this.
Yeah. And watching we're a community college, right? A network of community colleges. And so each one, is crucial in their community, serving their community. And that's what we get so much joy. Truly, joy is that, not only do we get to serve the individual colleges themselves, but then the colleges are serving their communities. And so our reach, like y'all's, is kind of statewide, and just how impactful. And it's a cool experience to watch something like these courses go from like an idea or a need. If I said today, like, how, what's your number one need for an employee right now? What is the number one need you have? I'm sure you could name it, and take you and multiply it across the state, and then we go and develop a course and we push it out to the 24 community colleges, and then they're serving their community, but we're doing it with you at the table. The whole thing is just, it's an orchestra of events almost, and it's producing this really, really cool product. And I don't know. So going back and thinking about the task force piece, so we have somebody who brings a need, and so I'm going to ask you this: what's the number one need right now for an employee at Wiregrass?
Equipment operators.
Equipment operators, not specific, just an equipment operator. So you would hire anybody who had any kind of experience. Is that?
If they have been on a heavy piece of equipment for, over a year, that's a very trainable person. Yes.
Okay. So before these courses started, your industry came and said, we're in dire need, right? And so everybody jumped on a task force, and you've served on several task forces at this point in time. Just kind of speak to what that looks like. That task force provides certain things to us, as the team, and our writers and our designers, and then ultimately the end product that comes out. Just kind of from your perspective, tell me what that experience was like.
So we had like we were talking about before, we had a subject matter expert serve on as, for the primary person for our motor grader. Yeah. And he had never been part of, I guess, the instructional design process as that goes. And I think that the way that you guys handled it made him feel, very comfortable during the whole thing. He did not have to think about the best way to put this, the best way to organize this. He was just giving his genuine feedback on what he thought was useful and helpful. And the team that was put together to help build these courses out just kind of took it and just put it in a really wonderful format. I want to say this too, our parent company, Construction Partners Inc., we have, various sister companies all throughout the Southeast. This is the only state I know that is doing anything like this. Of all these southeastern states that they operate in, I don't hear them talking about how horizontal construction is getting this sort of attention from the community college system in their state. Yeah. So that's kudos to this group.
Yeah, it's music to our ears.
It is.
It is. I think, we've heard before, we're really leading the nation in that. And that's exciting for us in this team, because that's where we're set to serve. That's what we're set to do, is really to serve our state and serve the workforce needs. Tell us a little bit about working alongside us at the lab days. Like when you're there at a lab and you see our students really learning what they learned online, taking those skills and applying them during their hands-on lab. We know we've had several companies come to our lab days and really be able to talk to students about that, and why is that important to get in front of them, as they're going through training.
So my team, who's geographically dispersed throughout the state, have 5 of them in different areas. The very first time that any of them actually attended one, they're normally very straightforward with me, like, hey, this is worth doing, this is worth attending, and they just keep going back to each one of these things. I think that they learn just as much by watching what's going on about those pieces of equipment too as they could have if they'd gone out in the field and done it. So it's like they get a double value where they get to go talk to people that may be interested in doing this, but they also are learning a little bit too.
That's great. Yeah, that's awesome. And now, and I'm sure now we're in the high schools. And so not only are we capturing, the folks in the community of adultish age, now, being able to kind of show and explore different career options for horizontal, explore different pieces of equipment, and what folks may be interested in, as summer jobs. Obviously they're students in high school, but, what they could go do in a summer job, or what they may end up doing as a career, and what that may look like for their career goals that maybe they hadn't even thought about it before. But how, what kind of recruiting emphasis, I guess, do y'all put on, kind of putting high school students as explaining to them what this career field looks like.
I would love to spend a lot more time in high schools than we actually do, but we do go throughout the year to various events, whether the school system sets it up or whether it's just something that we can just wedge ourselves into. I think recently we just did one at Chilton County schools. We try to target people that are close to graduating. We're unfortunately one of those industries, like you can go and work, at 16, 17 at, a quick service restaurant or something like that. Here, you got to be 18. So it's, we try to focus on people that are, thinking about like, what's next for me.
Yeah.
But yeah, that will be a heavy emphasis going forward because as I told you, the workforce in terms of their years of experience, that's shrinking in terms of heavy equipment operators. So getting into, somebody that's, motivated to sit there and get them a career is high priority for us.
Yeah. We were talking earlier, a little while ago, with somebody from the state, high school, K-12, and they were talking about how just important it is to explore different career options and how it's not necessarily like, I know what I want to do. It's okay to be like, I don't know what I want to do. That is absolutely fine. And so, I think this is kind of one of those situations where you can kind of explore without having the penalty, right? Like you could just explore all these different options of different career paths, and then ultimately maybe I'll go work a skid steer at a nursery, while I'm in high school. But then I come to you when I graduate or when I turn 18, and now all of a sudden I've been working a skid steer for, every summer for the last 2 years, and now I'm a more valuable employee to you or prospective employee to you upon graduation, that kind of thing. So anyway, it's just kind of neat to see those things kind of come full circle. Some things that we don't necessarily see that we see those connected pieces all the time. Like we started, in the community college with community college system potentials, right? And then all of a sudden we expanded into K-12, and now all of a sudden it seems to come full circle with employees and K-12 and it's just, I don't know, it's just all moving in this rapid pace.
It is. It's been a work of beauty. And I think one thing's important to really highlight is it's no matter if you're looking to increase your workforce or upskill your workforce, I think what we're doing can serve all of those needs. And that's what's exciting to us is that it's different opportunities and can open different doors.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. What's the next piece of equipment we need to build?
I think you guys have already touched on it, or at least have started it, is our paver, paving machine. So for a road builder company, we have some very specific pieces of equipment that you're not going to find in other places. Right. So in particular, our shuttle buggies and our paving machines. So those are, and then even roller, that has a different application doing it on pavement versus doing it on the ground where you're just trying to grade something and pack it down. Yep. So, but that's already been addressed. But I would say the paver would be a good one for us.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, that is in our list of courses, upcoming courses for sure. So from your role, tell our subscribers, viewers, us, like what are the type of not skills, but characteristics of an employee do you look for? Like who's the most successful operator, or who are the most successful operators in your company, and what type of characteristics do they have that makes them a great employee?
When you work on a construction crew in a road builder company, typically you're going to stick with the same people a lot, especially on the paving side. Day in, day out, you'll be moving to different places, but it will be with the same people. So folks that are, just easy to be around and they're just enjoyable folks to sit there and to be a teammate to is really important to us. And like you said, we are constantly working ourselves out of a job. So somebody that is really, I guess, motivated by that sort of thing and likes to sit there and to move on to the next and the next and the next is a really good attitude to have.
That sense of accomplishment.
Yes. It's funny. You can go walk or drive anywhere with someone that is a road builder, and they'll just randomly stop you in the middle of a conversation. I built that road. I did that. Like,
I love that.
they'll be checking how many bumps are in the road, or if something doesn't look right. Like the whole, I guess their whole orientation for how they're looking at where you're driving is different than most people.
Yeah. That is neat. That is a whole different side of things, is to think of that sense of accomplishment, like starting something. And I mean, in the society we're in, where we, almost that Sesame Street mentality, where we start something, we drop it, we leave it, whatever, we don't pick it back up. But it is neat to think about that is something that you can start and finish a project, and you can sit back and go, I did that. I built that. I saw that happen from start to finish. Is that a draw, do you think, that maybe, I don't know, high schoolers or people who are thinking about going into this career path, that is, I don't know, would this generation appreciate that these high schoolers, like, being able to see something come to fruition and be built from the ground up?
Obviously in recruiting, you have to spend a lot of time figuring out what's important to the kind of people that you're wanting to, attract to these positions. I would say one of the things that we hear the most is, I want to do something that matters. Mm-hmm. Like that is an overarching thing. It's not, it cuts across all age groups. It doesn't really even matter which age group. And honestly, there are very few impactful jobs than building a road for somebody. Even like if you walk into a freshly paved neighborhood, just the appearance that it gives your neighborhood is in itself just, it goes underappreciated.
Yeah.
But our roads in Alabama, I think, are pretty good. Like you can go just about anywhere, and we keep up with our paving, and people that work for us, and even the other companies that do the same thing. I know they all feel the same way. Like anywhere they go, they can sit there and brag about what they did.
Pride. Yeah. I love that.
Such an important part of infrastructure too, I mean, and then you talk about impact. I mean, that's hugely impactful. We talked in another episode about, just like kids or parents being able to talk with the next generation about, I built that. If a dad or a mom is driving down the road with their child, and they can explain, this is where this started, this is how this ended, I helped build that, or vice versa. So that's a neat perspective.
My wife, when we ride down a road, if the road is concrete, I know exactly when a concrete road needs to be replaced, because it'll start making that bump, because it all breaks apart in segments and things like that. I think she's probably learned more about asphalt than she ever thought she would know, based off just riding with me down the road.
I bet. I know when we first started, I used to find it fun, and now I don't do this so much anymore, but I used to find it fun. I mean, I didn't know anything about horizontal construction and different pieces of equipment when we first started, but when we did first start, I would find it fun, ride down the road, and I'd be like, okay, that's a this, and that's a that, and that does this, and that does that. And so it is kind of neat how you pick up things along the way, whether it's your wife picking up when a road might need to be, repaved or whatever, testing yourself on the side of the road to see if you know what pieces of equipment are.
I think for me, I'm more apt to look and see, is that wiregrass? Is that wiregrass building?
I do that too.
Just because we know y'all now, and the work that y'all have done and partnership has been so important. I pay attention more.
Yeah.
It's so
it's
funny.
the job that you all do is so important, like you said, just getting to work every day, getting to school every day, getting to an emergency or a doctor's office if our roads are, in bad shape, or things are not, smooth, and it impacts us every day. And I pay more attention now to what's happening with our road construction. And
it's funny. When I introduce myself to people I haven't met, and they ask me like, "Oh, where do you work at?" and I'll tell them, I've gotten this reaction so many times. Oh, you made me late for work this day. It happens all the time. It's hilarious. But I don't think many people have ever got to see what it's like from the perspective of our traffic control people and the folks that work on a road, especially at night. You have all these cars just whizzing by, and you're just one bad decision away
Yep.
from it just plowing straight into
Yeah.
you. And it's a dangerous job on some areas, but our traffic control people typically they do everything they can to protect those guys.
Matter of fact, that's another course that's come up this week is traffic control, is the need for that. I don't know, I probably shouldn't say this, but I was pretty amazed very early on, taking a look at the United States federal flagger course. I don't know if you've ever looked at that, but was really surprised and quasi-embarrassed that the United States would put out this federally written course that just wasn't very good. And so I'll call it out today and say, gosh, we got to do better. And it really was kind of a standard. Like I looked at and was like, golly, this is not what we want to build. We want to build something that, we can be proud of, and while the information was there, it just wasn't what I would consider, up to standards. So I think at a state level, we're beating the feds.
Yeah,
I'm not surprised at all. Even from state to state, it is wildly different on how people approach traffic control. But it's literally those guys that are out there working on it. They can't focus on what's going on around them. So it's those people that are really keeping them safe and making sure that they're guiding traffic correctly. They've set up all the barriers that are supposed to be. And it's real easy if you don't pay attention to make a hole where somebody could slip in there and, hurt somebody.
Right.
So
Right.
it's very important. I'm glad that y'all focused on a class for that.
Yeah, it is. Matter of fact, I think it was a couple of days ago, and it was maybe 20 counties of EMA, I think, are wanting to, get behind a traffic control initiative for us building a course. So, we've put it on the high priority list for sure. And all it takes is, riding down the road at night, like you say, and even during the day. I mean, I don't want to negate the daytime safety risks either, but golly, something about in the dark, you think as a driver, it makes me nervous. I can't imagine being out there in the dark, trying to work on the side of the road and you've got, cars speeding by at 70 miles an hour. I mean, or what they should be at 70 miles an hour, I guess, or whatever. So,
yep,
it
is part of it for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, all right. Any other parting thoughts, Julie, from your side of things? Or
no, again, we just really appreciate all the work that you all have done with us, and look forward to building more courses together and really helping the workforce so it can help the industry across the state.
I had fun. Thank you for having me today.
gosh, y'all been so crucial for all the, last two courses that we've built equipment wise. I mean, just the willingness of your company and others like you. I mean, we don't want to say that Wiregrass is the only, but it is truly a partnership amongst many entities, many companies, many folks. I mean, we don't even have to really ask more than once for people to come to the table like you guys and others, and y'all are always more than willing, and we couldn't do it, without y'all's support and your guidance and, outlining everything as far as skills go and competencies and allowing us on your sites. And we know that slows down productivity. And so from a filming perspective, it is, we couldn't do it, if it wasn't for you guys. And so we were excited to have you on here today to talk through what that looks like from your perspective and hear from you guys.
Well, it's well worth the time that we spend working with you guys to get it right and to make it exist. So, we're happy to do it.
Awesome.
Excellent. Thanks so much for being here, Eric. We appreciate it. And thank you, everyone, for listening in and watching us today. Don't forget to follow, like, and subscribe to our podcasts on all platforms. Thanks so much.
Thanks, everybody.